Welcome back to some new r/malicious compliance stories, where people comply to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. Thanks for all the likes and comments on the last video. And now let's start with the first story. It's called Weekend Guy. Back in the 1970s, I worked as an inspector in an automotive transmission factory. My job was to check a very specific part. And the key detail, it had to be perfectly straight. Now, if a part was bent, I could flag it and send it off to be straightened. But if it didn't get caught in time and made it to the heat treat, the next stage in production, then it couldn't be fixed. It was scrap. On a good night I could check about 400 parts. Sometimes a little more, sometimes less. The number largely depended on how many bent pieces were in the batch. The day shift inspector was about the same. Solid output. Everything was fine. Until one Monday evening, my foreman pulled me aside. "Hey, the weekend guy checked 700 parts on Saturday, so I expect you to hit 700 tonight." I raised an eyebrow. 700? That's not really possible, unless you start letting bad parts through. If I go that fast, I'll miss things. "Just do what you have to do," he said. "I want 700 checked tonight." Great. I walked over to my station and checked the weekend records. Sure enough, the weekend guy had marked exactly 700 parts as inspected. Even better, exactly 400 were marked good, and exactly 300 were marked for straightening. That's not how quality control works. In a typical batch of 400, I might see 40 to 50 needing straightening, not 300. The numbers were too neat, clearly fudged, but fine. If they wanted 700 parts, I'd do the best I could, still trying to be accurate of course. That night I managed to inspect about 650 parts, with around 200 flagged to be straightened. The next night, Tuesday, the foreman stops me as I come in. "Hey, go back to how you were checking before." Apparently the fallout from Weekend Guy's Magic 700 and my own not so perfect batch had caught up. Between his overly generous good parts, my slightly rushed checks, and whatever the day shift added on Monday, let's just say heat treat was swimming in scrap. Funny how quality takes a dive when you push speed over precision. Needless to say, I went back to checking 400 pieces the right way, and the mysterious weekend guy never saw his name pop up again. The next story is called Nonsense Accusations. Years ago, I worked in a semi-public sector role, on a team that generally made life easier for local businesses. We were good at what we did, objectively one of the best performing teams in the country. Our team leader eventually left for a better paying job in the private sector, and in came a new boss from a similar organization elsewhere in the country. She worked compressed hours, Monday to Thursday, off Fridays. No big deal, initially. After a month or two, things started getting tense. She had a particular way of doing things, which she insisted on. Some of my colleagues were already upset after she openly criticized their work. I had no issues, at least not yet. Then came a team meeting. She told us that our performance wasn't good enough, and said she wanted more control over the quality of our communication. Her solution was to copy her into every email we sent to clients, so she could comment before we sent another reply. Now, obviously, this sounded wildly inefficient, but nobody said a word. I simply asked a very normal, very calm question. "Should I wait until Monday for your comments on Friday emails?" That was it. No sarcasm, no edge, just a clarification. Meeting ends. She asked me to stay behind. Her tone? Heated. "Your question was bullying behavior. It was unprofessional to ask that in front of the team. What you did would be seen by HR as grounds for dismissal. You need to be very careful." I was honestly stunned. Still, I told her I understood, went back to my desk, and got typing. I drafted a very detailed email to the head of HR. Subject: possible bullying, self-reporting. In the body, I recounted the entire meeting and interaction, word for word. I explained that, as bullying was serious and often underreported, I felt a duty to report myself. I really committed to the bit. expressing horror at my clearly unprofessional behavior, acknowledging the likely damage to my career, and earnestly asking for whatever remedial training or disciplinary process might be appropriate. I copied in my union rep, of course. Within 24 hours, the three of us, me, my rep, and my boss, were in a meeting with the head of HR. The head, being a very by-the-book professional, listened carefully. She found absolutely zero evidence of bullying, nothing unprofessional, nothing even remotely worthy of concern. I was asked to leave the meeting after that. My union rep stayed. I still don't know what was said in that room, but within 6 weeks she was gone. That same week, my senior boss, pleasant but utterly ineffective, pulled me aside. Thank you. I wanted to get rid of her, but I didn't know how. Sometimes the best way to deal with a baseless accusation is to take it entirely seriously and let it collapse under the weight of its own nonsense. The last story is called Chuggers. In my city we have chuggers, short for charity muggers. They are those overly eager folks who stand outside train stations or shopping centers, trying to get people to sign up for monthly donations to various charities. But here's the catch. They don't actually work for the charities. They work for commission-based fundraising companies hired by the charities. Every time someone signs up, the chugger gets a cut of the donation. If someone cancels before a year, the charity loses money, because they still have to pay the commission. So these chuggers can be pushy, often using guilt or manipulation to get people to sign up. One caught me outside a train station and hit me with the usual line. Would you like to donate to major charity? I said, sure, and pulled out a $20 note. He looked almost annoyed. Oh no, I can't take cash. One-off donations aren't helpful. They just sit in a fund for 3 years and get used on scrap projects. Monthly donations are better, he added. Minimum is $20 a month. I glanced at his shirt. Yep, the actual charity's name. So I pulled out my phone, went to the charity's official website, and set up a $25 per month recurring donation right then and there. Held up my screen. That shouldn't be a problem, right? His face felt like a souffle in a wind tunnel. Oh, well, you see. And then he just walked away. He got zero commission, and the charity got more than he asked for, without having to pay him a cent. Sometimes it pays to cut out the middleman, especially when the middleman is wearing a vest and trying to guilt-trip commuters before coffee. Thanks for watching the video to the end. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe. And if you have time, watch another one of my videos. Also, if you want to support me further, check out the channel membership or Patreon. And now, I hope you have a great day. See you soon. Bye bye.